concerned that Nancy Pelosi and others can't be trusted with this kind of information?
Well, I guess the only thing is they were talking about why didn't I give the information to Adam Schiff and his committee? And the answer is because I think Adam Schiff is the biggest leaker in Washington. You know that. I know that. We all know that. I've watched Adam Schiff leak. He's a corrupt politician. He's a leaker like nobody's ever seen before. We had a very good conversation with the Ukrainian president. The conversation was perfect. They don't ever talk about the conversation. It started with a whistleblower. Now they don't want the whistleblower. Then they had a second whistleblower. Now they don't want the second whistleblower. The reason is that when they saw what the whistleblower wrote, and then when I released the conversation, which bore no relationship to what the whistleblower saw, they said their case was out the window. And I think it's a disgrace. In a nutshell, a whistleblower wrote a false narrative of the conversation. Now they don't want to talk about the whistleblower because they didn't think I was going to release the conversation. When I released the conversation, I blew up Schiff's act. And just to finish it off, Adam Schiff went up before Congress and he made up my words. He didn't copy what I said. He didn't know him probably at the time. Nobody thought I was going to release the conversation. I got the approval from Ukraine. Once I released the conversation, this thing all died. And that's what they should be looking. And Adam Schiff went before Congress. And Adam Schiff, what he did will never be forgotten. He made up a conversation that was a phony fabrication. It was a fraud. And people shouldn't be allowed to get away. They say he has immunity because he's a member of Congress. People shouldn't be allowed to do that. That's a criminal act. What he did is a criminal act.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, President Trump literally unleashes the dogs of war to take care of the dog that is Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. There is so much more to this story, including new theories that are popping up, connecting how Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi's trip to Jordan seems to line up directly with this raid that was about to take place against this top ISIS leader. And we're going to talk about some other really incredible theories that connect everything together. So you guys are going to want to stick around to check this out, plus a whole lot more. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. You guys know, thank you is how I always start. To everyone who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, come here, click the big red subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when these videos get posted. Of course, QPost 3570 is where we left off, and there is still a lot of work to be done as far as getting the website up and running, where we're going to hopefully get more QPosts. But right now, as usual, this has been an incredible month. We have so much happening. Red October is upon us, and we are actually just passing now the 1 year or the 2 year anniversary of Q's original post back in October 28th of 2017. So we've hit some pretty big markers here, and it seems that we have a lot more to go. But before we get into this big story, we're going to be talking about what has happened, really, what the theories about Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, the trip to Jordan, how it's connected to the raid on Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi and other things. We're going to tie all of these things together. But before we do that, look, I always remind everybody, please come here, share these videos, get them out on your social media, because we know the content is being suppressed by these big tech corporations who are in bed with the fake news, who are in bed with the corrupt politicians. They're all in the same boat, and they're trying to keep this information away from you and anyone else, really. So the way we beat that is by you guys hitting the share button. That's how you can help, and I really appreciate that. So please go hit that share button. Now, to give you an idea, we're going to start with this story to give you an idea of what the, never Trump establishment media looks like. They really have lost their minds, because given that President Trump has done this incredible has pulled off this incredible operation with the military and taken out a leader of, an atrociously evil leader of an atrociously evil terrorist organization, you have to understand that the media can't give President Trump this win. So you have people like Max Boot who come out, and this is not just him. It's the Washington Post with their austere religious scholar comment, which was followed by a write-up of an obituary that sounded more like a love letter to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. And then you have people like Max Boot making tweets like this. Trump could not have heard, quote, whimpering and crying because there was no audio, and Esper and Milley refused to confirm those details. The assertion that Baghdadi died as a coward was contradicted by the fact that rather than be captured, he blew himself up. Well, thank you, Max Boot. This is really incredibly cutting-edge, progressive journalism. And I say that in the worst possible way because this, to me, is obviously a way of affirming this psychopath, evil, rapist, terrorist, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. And then what are you trying to do? Like repaint him as being brave? Turn him into a martyr? Isn't that exactly what President Trump's trying to keep from happening by explaining the truth of the situation, how he was a coward, how he ran into a tunnel with a bunch of children and then decided to take his own life and the lives of those children while he was probably crying and whimpering like as President Trump said, like a dog. This is the kind of, anti-American craziness that's happening, and these are the same people who are a part of the establishment. They're basically just mouthpieces for the globalist deep state cabal, and all they want to do is sow the seeds of division and to undermine President Trump. They don't care about this country. They care more about making sure that President Trump doesn't come out on top in any way for anything, even when he takes out a known despicable, evil terrorist who has been, it's been documented that this person is a sadistic animal who has killed many, many people and hurt others, many others. So I just have to start here because it kind of lays up the groundwork. James Comey is apparently saying, now I don't know if this is true, but story came out today on this Paul Preston's report here. I just found this article where they were talking about sources close to the federal investigation by Attorney General Bill Barr into the Russia scandal have confirmed apparently to this Agenda 21 radio that former FBI Director James Comey has turned against those involved in the attempt to remove President Trump from office. In an exclusive interview with Paul Preston of Agenda 21 Radio, the unidentified source who asked not to be named stated James Comey started cooperating with investigators from U.S. Attorney John Durham's office when confronted when Comey was told he was going to, quote, be named in a soon-to-be-announced criminal probe, unquote. So, all these people are going to end up trying to save their own tail. And it makes perfect sense that Comey would be one of the first to flip as this all comes to light, because he was obviously one of the weakest and still is one of the weakest. And, these people can't just cover up their crimes. They can't cover up the fact that they knew the information that was used in the FISA warrants was just completely fabricated and a part of a broader conspiracy to try to undermine President Trump and try to not only undermine his election, but to undermine his administration afterwards. So there's a lot more to this. The perfect phone call. This is the problem. They keep pushing forward with, there was a lieutenant colonel on the line who said he was shocked when he heard President Trump say what we already know President Trump said because we have the literal transcript of the phone call. So it just is more insanity and misdirection and complete. It's all, it's a psychological game at this point. The Democrats and Adam Schiff are pulling a confidence game, against the American people. They're trying to manipulate the public perception of what's happening here. That's why they're having these secret meetings. And now Nancy Pelosi comes forward, we're going to call a vote for impeachment. And then all of a sudden she says, we're not voting on impeachment. It makes no sense what these people are doing unless you understand that they understand and know fully that there is no there against President Trump. So they have to delay. It's a part of the blockade. Q told us all about this. This is their tactic. Now they've come into the whistleblower part of it, where they're going to have all of these whistleblowers keep coming forward and trying to set these traps for President Trump because they've run out of things to actually go after the president on. Not that there were any really to begin with. They've run out of a lot of their own manufactured narratives, and they're running out of resources and allies by the day. And here's another interesting little side note here. This document, which was released back in October 17th of 2019, remember that day, October 17th, people are pointing this document saying this could very well explain why Andrew McCabe has decided to drop his lawsuit. As we talked about in the last episode, new reports coming out seem to show that you can't make this stuff up. I mean, this is crazy, but Andrew McCabe and Peter Strzok were having affairs with Lisa Page. So she was actually having an affair with both Andrew McCabe and Peter Strzok, according to new reports. Well, gee whiz, this is crazy. Not really, if you look at the way that these human scumbags, as President Trump would say, have continued to come after him. And now that we're forcing them to cooperate, we're forcing them to stand down, and we're going to bring them all to justice, especially after we get the FISA report from the Inspector General. That's going to show us a lot of what we need to know. But listen to this. The Department of Justice Office of Inspector General initiated an investigation of a Federal Bureau of Investigation senior official based on information that the senior official committed misconduct by failing to report a romantic or intimate relationship with a subordinate and participating in decisions concerning the subordinate's temporary promotion. I wonder who they could be talking about. The senior official and the subordinate admitted to the OIG to having engaged in a romantic or intimate relationship while the senior official was supervising the subordinate. The senior official denied that the relationship impacted the subordinate's temporary promotion or performance appraisal. The OIG found that the senior official committed misconduct by failing to report the relationship to appropriate personnel as required by the FBI policy. In addition, the OIG found that the senior official committed misconduct by participating in decisions regarding subordinates' temporary promotion, violated FBI ethics policy by failing to meet the heightened responsibility placed on supervisors to avoid creating the appearance of preferential treatment or other improper conduct. However, the Office of Inspector General concluded that supervisory actions by the senior official, including the subordinate's temporary promotion, were not based on favoritism. Oh, well, that's great. Senior official was reassigned to another division before the OIG investigation began. The OIG has completed its investigation and provided its report to the FBI. Now, obviously, this can be referring directly to Peter Strzok, but it could also be referring to the fact that there are other senior officials maybe being investigated. If this story ends up being true, this is very much can be relevant to the relationship between Lisa Page and Andrew McCabe. So just a food for thought there, I guess. A lot of people were looking at that. Now, remember, June 30th, 2018, almost 30 days to the day before John McCain passes away, No Name McCain passes away, and just so happens to pass away on National Dog Day, Q told us, think Supreme Court vote to confirm coming, no name action, every dog has its day, enjoy the show. Well, this seems to be a very relevant tweet to or post from Q to today's events, especially surrounding what happened in Syria with the takedown of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. It's connected. We talked about this in the last episode with John McCain, National Dog Day, President Trump calling Bakr al-Baghdadi a dog, saying he cried like a dog before he was taken out. Now, again, we talked about this. Dogs are looked at very unfavorably in the Middle East. They're considered unclean, and just in general, they're really looked at differently than they are in the West. With that being said, that has everything to do with what President Trump is saying. But some other things that I thought were interesting. Do you think we might have been getting a little bit of a heads up from Ron Code Monkey? You know, the guy who's trying to make 8kun come back. Now, I'm not saying anything because this could all just be a coincidence. Who knows, right? But I thought it was really interesting. If you look at this tweet that Ron put up, this is 2 days before the raid that took out Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. And Ron says this, Project owed an update, posting media reading, all working, just moderation to finish up. Thanks to everybody reaching out and offering to help test. Then he goes on to say, unrelated, but I took my dog for an off-the-leash walk, looking happy because she is not often off her leash in public. And it's got a picture of a beautiful dog there, and I just thought this was maybe some sort of, there's something in here that was kind of some foreknowledge of what was going to happen. I'm not saying that he knew exactly what was going to happen, but think of it this way. Saying I took my dog for an off-the-leash walk. Think of what that's suggesting in its own, in the words that are being used there. Saying taking the dog off the leash. You're unleashing the dogs of war. Look at what President Trump has with this dog on his Twitter account just 2 days after. Again, this was on October 25th. And literally at 7 a.m. the day before this raid took place. And, it goes back to John McCain and the dog comments and Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi's connections to McCain and just everything. So I just thought it was interesting when I saw that. I figured it was worth looking at. Not to mention, here's another story. Susan Rice is very upset because President Trump didn't extend the common courtesy of telling Obama about al-Baghdadi mission. Well, I have a few theories on why they wouldn't tell Obama or anyone really about this Baghdadi mission, because they knew it was going to get leaked. They knew that these people were going to basically try to protect these terrorists and give them a heads up, because that this was all a part of a broader broader mission that was let's just talk about it in a second here. I just want to read these. Trump defends keeping leaker Schiff Pelosi out of the loop on al-Baghdadi raid. He's made these comments. We saw him at the beginning. Why would he say that? Pretty simple. If you guys look at what Pelosi and Schiff were doing, right when President Trump had all this intel, was planning this operation, they were over in Jordan visiting with the king of Jordan right there on the border of Syria. Wonder what they were doing there. Wonder if they were there trying to get more information on what President Trump knew or was doing with these military operations in northern Syria. Perhaps they were there trying to get information from their supposed friends, like the king of Jordan, who turned them down to try to get information to give a heads up to those who are trying to commit crimes. And this has been documented before. I mean, back in July of 2017, you had this general coming, or I think it was an admiral, General Tony Thomas, coming forward and explaining how ISIS was broken, but the leader was able to slip away. And this is talking about a hit that was supposed to take place against Baghdadi back then, that ended up falling apart when, guess what? The fake news gave the heads up and gave them a warning and got them out of there. So there's really an incredible thread about all this. I'm going to read it to you guys really quick. But it says, wow, what if, and I just want to share this with you because it's really important. It's from this 40 head. Great work. Thank you. I'll share the link in the description. But Trump needed to nail down al-Baghdadi's location at POTUS knew, and this is the theory about what could have happened and how this is all connected to Baghdadi. So let's read it. Trump needed to know and nail down al-Baghdadi's location. POTUS knew withdrawing troops from Syria would spark an uproar and ISIS would be emboldened. Because deep state ties have been cut with Syria and ISIS, someone had to get a message to al-Baghdadi in person. But who could go there while missiles and bombs were being lobbed across the international borders by multiple countries? So Trump manages to get both sides to agree to a ceasefire. If someone is going to meet with al-Baghdadi, they would have to go during the ceasefire, completely unannounced. Pelosi and Schiff, both deep state, both CIA, maybe, suddenly head to the Middle East. Do you understand the significance of this timing? If there was no troop pullout and if a ceasefire had not been arranged, Pelosi and Schiff would not have gone. Somehow, according to the New York Times, al-Baghdadi's location is learned while Pelosi and Schiff are in the sandbox. Understand this, folks. Al-Baghdadi's location was discovered while Pelosi and Schiff were on the ground in the Middle East. Coincidence? Right. Perhaps they were meeting with him, and that's how President Trump was able to track him. That would be interesting. Trump issued command authority to take out al-Baghdadi last week, perhaps while Pelosi and Schiff were still in country. It looks like al-Baghdadi may have been compromised by the very traitors involved with supporting him during Obama's administration. How poetic. During Trump's press conference on taking out al-Baghdadi, he was asked if he notified Pelosi or anybody in Congress about the planned mission. Trump stated directly that he did not tell Pelosi because he didn't want any leaks getting out or any Americans getting hurt. Trump knows Pelosi is a possible traitor and that Congress can't be trusted. It only goes to confirm that the theory here bears weight. How is it that all these coincidences occurred at just the right time? It says if this is right, it's also what was needed to draw al-Baghdadi or one of his confidants out into the open. It worked. It was noted by US Today that Trump praised the intelligence community for their work in finding al-Baghdadi, but never once did Trump mention the clowns. That didn't prevent the New York Times from assuming and giving much of the credit to the clowns, but Trump never actually stated who the intel came from. It says, remember this old Q post where it says, why go around three-letter agencies? Because so many traitors and leakers were in those agencies. It says, and would you know, look at that, Delta Force performed this operation. What did we recently learn about Delta Force? They're part of a very special group that is home to the Northern Virginia Army, 800 intel officers who report to Trump and to Q. And then it talks about how we were introduced to Lieutenant General Paul Nakasone in Drop 1268, 1268 equals 17, and how he became the new director of the NSA and Cyberspace Command when Admiral Mike Rogers retired. And you'll see through this thread how he also appears with General Flynn. And this is talking about that post right there that we have, where it talks about Lieutenant General Paul Nakasone. It says, so again, this is all just theory looking from the big picture but in case evidence surfaces that Pelosi or Schiff are exposed for having passed information to al-Baghdadi, you can say, hey, QAnon was tossing that theory around. Yeah. And again, it says Trump credited the intelligence community, but he never said which one. Notice there were 0 leaks about this mission. That means military intelligence, which is what I tend to believe having looked at this. Also, I want to kind of put this on top of it for another layer for you guys to understand, but this is talking about how the Democrats cultivated ISIS. This is from an article, and I thought this was an interesting theory on it as well. It says, the indisputable fact is that Washington and its Gulf allies wish to exploit this initial unrest as an opportunity to create a void in Syria, just as they had earlier done in Iraq, where there were no uprisings, nor even the WMDs the U.S. promised would be found, and that served as the pretext for Bush's campaign of shock and awe. The limited uprisings in Syria quickly turned into a much larger and far more vicious war because of the Gulf states, with U.S. backing, flooded the country with proxy fighters and arms in an effort to overthrow Assad and thereby weaken Iranian and Shia influence in the region. The events in Syria and earlier in Iraq gradually transformed the Sunni religious extremists of al-Qaeda into the even more barbaric nihilistic extremists of the Islamic State, a dark U.S. vanity project. After Rove and Cheney had their fill playing around with reality, nature got on with honoring the maxim that it always abhors a vacuum. Islamic State filled the vacuum Washington's policy had engineered. The clue, after all, was in the name. With the U.S. and Gulf states using oil money to wage a proxy war against Assad, ISIS saw its chance to establish a state inspired by a variety of Saudi Arabia's Wahhabist dogma. ISIS needed territory for their planned state, and the Saudis and the U.S. obliged by destroying Syria. This barbarian army, one that murdered other religious groups as infidels and killed fellow Sunnis who refused to bow before their absolute rule, became the West's chief allies in Syria. Directly and covertly, we gave them money and weapons to begin building their state on parts of Syria. And this can be basically verified by the fact that you have John McCain, No Name McCain, and Lindsey Graham and everyone, well, more especially though, No Name McCain meeting with Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi before ISIS is formed. And that has to be taken very seriously. Going into other things here, you have Chuck Grassley saying, Q, how does a combine pick corn? And this obviously refers back to James Comey. I think this is some sort of confirmation that James Comey is talking, possibly. That's the way I read it. And then finally, you have Kevin Shipp, who's trying to reach out to Sidney Powell, apparently, with this message saying, we've tried to contact you by all means possible. Your case is critical to exposing the deep state coup against General Flynn and the president. The 47 Hammer hard drives have been proven fake, and Dennis Montgomery is a known fraud and con man. Huh, that's interesting. It says, alert to Sidney Powell continued. It is apparent you are being set up by a journalist who is a known fabricator. We have the evidence and documentation. I recommend you examine the evidence and issue a correction to protect your case. Huh. Well, isn't that interesting? Some friendly advice from your local former clown intelligence analyst, whatever you want to call him, Kevin Shipp, who's actually basically what he's talking about is what I've been talking about here and working with some of these very great investigative journalists and uncovering this story, Mary Fanning and Alan Jones. And I'm also, this story is not just coming from them, it's coming from, let's put it this way, high-ranking military officials who have been exposing this for quite some time now, going all the way back to the beginning of this Russia collusion hoax. It's not a coincidence, Mr. Shipp, that when General McInerney went on Dave Janda's program and exposed the hammer and exposed the fact that Dennis Montgomery had come forward with that information, that Obama's administration and Comey's FBI had hidden it, and that Brennan had taken this super surveillance system called the Hammer and moved it to Fort Washington in Maryland, where it was then weaponized by Dennis Montgomery in order to be used to illegally spy on the American people. That was clowns that were doing that. That was Brennan and Montgomery and the rest of the clowns, right? But Montgomery grew a conscience and decided to come forward and expose it. And now Kevin Shipp seems to be running damage control, but I'm going to leave that to you guys because I don't want to speculate. There is a lot of information that we can't verify yet. We're waiting for the investigations to continue to come out, and I just think that might be a more likely scenario than what Kevin Shipp is saying. And but I'll check with my sources and I'll see what they say, and we'll keep investigating this. But it's just interesting to see the clowns and how they really, really don't want this to come out, because this would be really, really bad for the clowns. The clowns do not want the Hammer to be exposed. They do not want you to know how bad the surveillance and how bad the criminality of the Obama administration really was, and how they violated the law in illegally spying on their political adversaries and the American people at large, using these systems without any checks and balances. There was no way to know how much it was abused, but I can tell you right now, from what I've heard from different reports, it was quite extensive, and that's what we're in the middle of uncovering. So that, I guess, is where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. Hope that you guys enjoyed that episode. Come here, hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Share these videos on your social media, get the word out that way, and also leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below, because I want to hear what you guys have to say about all of this. So please go down there and let me know what you think about everything that we covered here. I'd really love to hear that. Also, be brave. Download the Brave browser. Everyone needs to try this thing. It's the best browser. It's got it blocks the ads. It has its own built-in Tor browser, so you and like VPN for privacy. Just download it. Use the link in the description. It's free. When you download it using the link in the description, they make a contribution to the channel, so it's a win-win. I love this product. I think you guys will love this product. It's an internet browser, just like Google Chrome or Internet Explorer or Mozilla Firefox. It's going to work the same way. You download it, install it, and run it. As soon as you run it, it's going to be just like your old internet browser, any other one that you're using, except it's going to be better, and you guys are going to like it. So I encourage you to check that out. Also, don't forget to check out RedPillLiving.com/justinformed and use the coupon code justinformed to get 10% off. Check out the products here. There's chelation cream, the Chele cream. You have Carbon 60, which is an amazing product. My family, we love the products here at RedPillLiving.com. Go to RedPillLiving.com/justinformed or use the link in the description and use the coupon code justinformed to get 10% off your order. Go check that out today. That's a cool way you can help out the channel. Also, check out Twitter, JustInformYou, the official handle at JustInformYou on Twitter. This is where we can connect and have a conversation. I want you guys to all come check out the Twitter account. That's a great way to connect. Also, JustInformedNews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk. Links to the Q Stuff news, breaking news, and of course the latest videos from the channel here. That's JustInformedNews.com. A few other ways you can help out are both financial. There's Patreon, Patreon.com. It's a crowdfunding website. You come here, it's a monthly donation, you set it and forget it, and know you're helping create content on this channel ever since YouTube has taken away the demonetization. Every day I have to find a new way to keep this channel alive and running, but with your help and support, I've been able to do that. So thank you so much. And also I have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation that helps channel out big time, links to everything will be in the description. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater. And today we're going to talk about some scripture that I think is really important. It kind of goes in with the scripture we talked about yesterday. It's out of the same book, Philippians, and now we're in chapter 3, and I want to talk about reaching forward to God's goal. And this is chapter 3, verse 12 through 21. And I want to read this to you. It says, "Not that I have already reached the goal or am already fully mature, but I make every effort to take hold of it, because I also have been taken hold of by Christ Jesus. Brothers, I do not consider myself to have taken hold of it, but one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and reaching forward to what is ahead. I pursue as my goal the prize promised by God's heavenly call in Christ Jesus. Therefore, all who are mature should think this way. And if you think differently about anything, God will reveal this to you also. In any case, we should live up to whatever truth we have attained. Join in imitating me, brothers, and observe those who live according to the example you have in us. For I have often told you, and now say again with tears, that many live as enemies of the cross of Christ. Their end is destruction, their God is their stomachs, their glory is in their shame. They are focused on earthly things, but our citizenship is in heaven, from which we also eagerly wait for a Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. He will transform the body of our humble condition into the likeness of His glorious body by the power that enables Him to subject everything to Himself." And I hope that this verse touches your heart as it touched mine. I hope it gives you an idea of how we reach forward to God's goal and how we understand that God will transform the body of our humble condition, right, into the likeness of His glorious body by the power that enables Him to subject everything to Himself. So we have to just submit ourselves to God's awesome and glorious power and His plan and His grace and His mercy, and we have to ask God to help us live a humble and righteous and strong and faithful life, because that's what's more important than anything that's happening in this world. All of these things we talk about here, these crimes and these betrayals and these spies and these whistleblowers and this and that, ultimately it's all going to end up being meaningless. Now, God does say, there's a time to stand in righteous indignation against this evil and injustice that is in this modern age, but we also have to temper that with the teachings of the gospel and what Jesus taught us to do, and how we need to remind ourselves every day, as difficult as it may be. And I'm definitely imperfect, and I'm not free of sin by any means, but we have to remind ourselves every day that as long as we put God first and remember that our citizenship is in heaven, then we will be saved and we will understand how to move forward. I love the first line here. It was one of the first lines here. It says, "But one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and reaching forward to what is ahead." Brothers and sisters, I beg you to forget what is behind and look forward to what is ahead. God's glorious grace is ahead, and no matter what's happened in your past, you can open your heart up, you can say a prayer, you can ask for forgiveness, and you can change your life, and God can give you blessings. And it may not come in the timeline that you think it should, but God will reward you, and God will take whatever seeds you sow, and He will let you reap the benefit of that righteousness, that positive action, if you put it out into the world and you put it out with the ultimate faith in God. And that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. Thank you guys for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Hit it, tap it, bop it. Hit the like button if you guys have not done that already. And if you guys want to see me make more of this content. But thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.